Hi everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today I am making mock canned pineapple, and that is an interesting new concept to me. I've never done it before. I've heard of it, and we have a little bit of surplus of zucchini. So we have come to the end of the gardening season. So these are a little bit larger than I would have liked to have done this with, but for our first trial, it's gonna do. Now we mostly eat pineapple fresh out of the can with like cottage cheese or just a little side treat. We use the pineapple juice in like homemade sweet and sour sauce for Chinese. And if I can substitute some of that with what I already have in the pantry instead of going to the store, that's getting us a step closer to more self-sufficiency. Now, not 100% because the liquid to make it mock pineapple is canned pineapple juice from the store. So I picked up a couple of these 46-ounce cans of pineapple juice from Dole, whatever brand, you know, it doesn't matter. You could use frozen, but my store didn't have any. They only had like mango pineapple, and I didn't know about mixing up the things, you know, kind of trying others. So it really got me to thinking. I'm like, hey, you could probably can all kinds of things. We buy, in the past, canned apricots. Why couldn't you do some mango or some papaya and can it in any kind of juice? Maybe pear juice that's a little less loud, something more subtle anyways. So what I'm doing is I am just using my vegetable peeler, and I'm peeling off, this is chicken scraps, don't waste it, pig scraps, whatever you want to repurpose it for, and all cleaned up. So now I'm just going to slice this into halves and quarters until it gets to about this size, and then I'll chop it into chunks. Now, I really like pineapple on my pizza. I'm not a big fan of like Hawaiian pizza with just ham and pineapple. That's too boring. I like it deluxe, you know, all the vegetables, green peppers, onions, mushrooms, and then add pineapple to the top. So it's going to be interesting to do this, and I have ingredients to possibly make pizza today or tomorrow, depending on how my canning day goes. It's been a big canning day here. So I'm going to continue to chop this up, and I'll join you over the counter when it gets to be batching it up time. So cut your pineapple chunks to the size that you like. As I started cutting, I started thinking about sometimes we like tidbits of pineapple for smaller bits, or maybe we might like it in a smoothie. So this is a nice way to possibly sneak some vegetables in where the family might not otherwise be getting it that day. And anything I can do in smoothies is great. So see, that's more like a tidbit size. So when I was just taking a big chunk like that, it's more like pineapple chunks. So you could do like crushed pineapple and run it through the food processor. You could take your shredded pineapple, you know, whatever you're going to use it for, think in advance for that and chop it for that purpose. So I'm just going to keep going here. I'm just doing one very large zucchini. This is a test batch, and you can can these in wide mouth or narrow mouth jars. I want to do this in wide mouth jars this time, because when it's time to use that pineapple, it's really nice to be able to open that wide open like you do a can, a metal can from the store, and take out what you need. So I'm just thinking ahead on that. This is also a really good time to think about your seed saving. Invariably, you always end up slicing through some of the seeds, but you could real easily take some of those seeds out I think the smaller zucchini would be really good to do this with. These are right on the borderline that, you know, I almost thought the texture of it might be too soft. We're going to find out. So in the meantime, I got about a dozen zucchinis off of 3 plants. We haven't grown zucchini in probably 8 to 10 years. So it was definitely time. We wanted a big garden this year. We wanted to set the goal of filling the pantry as much as possible. So I started looking for more recipes to be able to use our home canned goods in. And of course I came across the mock pineapple and said, I gotta try it. It's gonna be interesting. I don't know if it'll be delicious, but it'll be interesting. Something to consider for next gardening season is there are a lot of local food pantries and little free food pantries where people can get food that's been donated. You can walk up and leave some of your garden produce there for families and restock that anytime you're around. So local to me, there's at least 5 food pantries within 45 minutes drive of the other, and they're all kind of like in my areas where I shop or frequent, and I could probably stock anywhere from 1 to 4 pantries on any given day. Think of that when you are saving your seeds and planting your seeds for next year. You can see I'm just chopping these up into small bits for the chickens, but as I go, I'm going ahead and pulling some out. Now you can also seed save. Our local library has a library of things, and you can get free passes for parks and whatnot, and they often have free seed catalogs so that you can share your seeds among other people in the community. And if you know anything about gardening, starting a garden, especially if you're just starting out, you have none saved, it can really add up to a huge expense for somebody who might not have the money otherwise. Or maybe they just don't have the space for growing the garden. So think of that. There's a lot of community gardens, and you can save your seeds to donate to them or to the food pantries as well. So if you're seed saving, make sure you rinse any pulp off of your seeds. I always like to do it in this little strainer so they're not going to float away and go down the drain. This is my last chance to seed save. I tried to save from my best zucchinis that were undamaged, make sure there's no disease or rot in them. A couple of my zucchinis were actually eaten slightly on the outside. They must have tasted really good. We get skunks and possums and raccoons around the farm. So I think that's good enough. And I'm going to leave these to drain on a towel for a little while, just like they are. And then later tonight, when they're dry, I'm going to transfer this to just a sheet of paper to dry for another day or two before I stick them into a paper envelope and label them as Zucchini Black Beauties for next year. And I put the year that I harvested the plant for the seeds, because everything has a viability. You can look it up online for zucchini. Every plant is different. You don't have to always just use it in the next year. So like I said before, because you are canning with hot water already in the canner, your jars have got to be hot. So I've got to bring these up to temperature and get them hot. I start by filling them with hot water, or I add hot water to the sink and then I add boiling water on it. Occasionally I will take these with hot water in them and put them on the top of the hot water bath canner in the rack with it raised to the top, resting on the rim. Whatever it takes to get them hot. This is also sanitizing them. These are all pre-washed. So now I'm going to go ahead and fill this with water. We're going to get these nice and hot. I'll add a little boiling water to it. and that's going to bring that temperature up, or tempering the glass so it doesn't shock them by the hot liquid that's warming up on the stove. The nice thing about doing this way is I'm like preheating washing water for my clean out process. So it's not going to be a waste of it. Anything that is in the sink is going to stay in the sink for washing up. I've already transferred, you know, some of my things over here for washing afterwards. Just as soon as the hot water on. I can even scavenge some hot water from the canner to pour over these in the sink to get them hot and equaling out that temperature. The next thing you need to do is get your bands and lids hot. A lot of times I'll just take some scalding hot water and put it on here. Same thing, I've scavenged some hot water from my water bath canner that was previously hot and put it in this pot. This is, number one, sanitizing them, and number two, it is bringing that temperature of this rubber ring hot so that it is going to be soft and then seal on your jars. Okay, so I've double checked my recipe, and I need 1.5 to 3 cups of lemon juice added to the pineapple, the zucchini, and sugar if you prefer. I'm leaving the sugar out because I think the pineapple juice has enough to it, and we are very careful with sugar in our house without adding any extra. Your pancreas can only handle so much. I keep lots of this bottled lemon juice on hand during this time of year. Keep your pantry stocked with it, especially if you have a guy who likes to make lemonade from that concentrate, to make sure you have enough to do your jobs. I actually stashed a little bit off to the side so that I could get to this project because I knew it was going to be a little while. We are going to go ahead and add our zucchini. Total, it says online recipes that I've seen, 8 to 9 pints. I'm guessing I probably have a little less. So I actually pulled out some of my pineapple. I was going to do 2 full jars. So after looking at how many cups, you know, gotta measure it, gotta know. Okay, so the recipe calls for 4 quarts of chopped or shredded zucchini. I ended up with almost 4 quarts, so I have slightly more than 1 can of juice. I want to make sure that I have enough. And I'll go ahead and add a little more lemon juice to this to make sure that we are equal. I was actually hoping to raw pack this, and I started filming it as a raw pack, and I'm having to go back and change the plan. So I'm just kind of figuring I've got about a half of a second 46-ounce can, multiplying and doing math. When you're cooking in these batches, it gets tricky. So I want another 3/4 cup of lemon juice. You've got to make sure with water bath canning that your acidity is at the correct level for safe canning practices. What did homesteading farm wives do back in the day? They didn't have lemons in our area. I'm in Michigan. What did they do to bring up that acidity? About the only thing I can think of is making apple cider vinegar. It's curious to know. So, add the sugar if you like. I'm not. That's why I went ahead and added more pineapple juice. You've got to make sure that everything's going to come to volume. I don't want to end up short on juice. And I've got a quart setting aside of extra lemon juice pre-warmed so that if I need to add it, I can bring it up to a boil real quick and mix it in, or just top off the jars. So I believe I read 20 minutes in the water bath canner and 1/2 inch headspace. So as soon as this gets up to boil, we will start canning. So I'm working along and I have 5 kids in my house, and I realize I have a whole nother monster zucchini to cut up. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw the rest of that juice, top off my lemon juice so that it's a full 3 cups, and I'm gonna get this one chopped up as well. Well, it smells like pineapple and it looks like pineapple. Now, something different than what I normally do for my canning is I'm scooping my pineapple zucchini with my lifting colander. It helps a lot. Okay, so now we are ready to fill the jars. I am using my strainer or colander for filling rather than use my mason jar, rather than use my Pyrex measuring cup that I normally do. And I've learned, don't try to overfill this because then I end up just spilling it all over the counter. By doing it this way, I'm adding the liquid after I get my 1/2 inch headspace. And I don't want to pack them down, I want them loosely filled. So this helps with that. It's real easy to get carried away. So it looks like pineapple, it smells like pineapple. It kind of tastes like pineapple, but I think once it goes through the process of the water bath canning, it will be softened a little bit more because I didn't like cook this through, I brought it up to a boil. Now, I've seen a lot of online things where it says actually to cook this longer. Mixed opinions about that. I've already had the stove on all day. And peak hours just started 15 minutes ago, from 3 to 7. So if you are concerned with energy savings, right now would be a good time to be quitting. So obviously I have to can this up and then take a break for my apples. No problem there at all. And I'm just making sure that I got these as full as I want them before adding the liquid. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to my measuring cup, my liquid, and I'm going to have more than 7 jars, so I'm going to want to get a few more jars sanitized and warming up. You never quite know exactly how much you're going to get. And when I looked at the 4 quarts of chopped up zucchini, I knew the ratio looked off. So I went ahead and added a little bit more, which is quite common. Now if I'd have shredded this, I'd probably end up with a lot more extra juice. Now, if you wanted to still add the sugar, you could add maple syrup or honey in place of granulated sugar. My most recent batch of sugar is, I believe, sugar beets ground into sugar. Not for sure. Okay, we're going to clean these tops off with the hot boiling water. get lids and bands on them and get them slipped into the canner. Okay, so since I had some leftover, I figure I've got at least enough here for 2 or 3 more pints. I have 5 more pint jars heating up. So I just ran another pot on the stove with just boiling water to get these hot and sanitized, and another jar of lids and bands. I have 5 jars because I'm going to recan any of the leftover juice, because like I said, I use that in my sweet and sour sauce for making homemade egg rolls and homemade crab rangoons. So we want to have that on hand and not waste it because I had to buy it. We are going to just can it right along with the pineapple, and it is 15 to 20 minutes. Everything I was finding online was pints for 15 minutes, so that's what we're going to go with. Okay, so here's my leftover pineapple juice. These will get used in small batches of homemade smoothies, some for doing the sauce like I said, and here's my mock pineapple cooling. My last 5 jars are in the water bath canner and they're just about to come out. So remember, if you like these kinds of videos, hit the thumbs up button for a like, subscribe, hit the little notification bell, and you'll know when the next video comes out. We've been doing a ton of canning videos right now. We're at the tail end of the garden harvest. We've still got potatoes, maybe a few onions left out there, and we just harvested the last of our pumpkins. We're still before Halloween. As you can see, my daughter's been around my kitchen decorating for me. And having the canner going on a rainy morning has made it just an enjoyable day. So I'm going to get back to working on shredding my other zucchini for homemade zucchini bread. You can follow us in making that in a future video. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.